Final Fantasy VII is one of those games that is so iconic, it has an identity outside of itself. It's kind of like a franchise within a franchise. Characters like Cloud and Sephiroth have transcended the Final Fantasy series and have even made appearances in several other games. Square has made a movie about this game, an anime, books, spin-off titles, re-released it several times, and is even in the midst of releasing an entirely new trilogy about it. And even without all that, a lot of gamers know who Cloud and Sephiroth are just off their iconic designs. Anytime I ever saw anything about them, I'd always be like, oh hell yeah dude, Cloud and Sephiroth, sick. But I didn't actually know why. So when I was browsing the Steam Spring Sale a few weeks ago and I saw the original Final Fantasy VII for just $1.50, I knew it was finally my time to give this game a shot. It was time to finally experience this masterpiece for myself and see if the hype was really worth it.
The most anticipated epic adventure of the year will never come to a theater near you. Final Fantasy VII.
PlayStation.
I was born in the early 90s, okay? And when this game came out, I was definitely outside of the target demographic. I had an N64, but I didn't get a PlayStation until the PS2 came out. My parents weren't like super into me playing video games. I had consoles because my grandmother would send them to my sister and and my parents let us play them, but they weren't exactly buying us new games for it every week or anything like that. I probably only had like 7 games during the entire lifespan of the PlayStation 2, but one of those 7 games that I had was Kingdom Hearts. And Kingdom Hearts was a game I was in the target demographic for. One of those aforementioned games that Cloud and Sephiroth make an appearance in outside of Final Fantasy is in fact Kingdom Hearts. And let me tell you, when I saw Cloud Strife appear for the first time at the Olympus Coliseum, I thought he was the coolest. I didn't even know anything about him, where he came from, any of that. I didn't even know what Final Fantasy was, let alone Final Fantasy VII. Much later after that, I was introduced to this optional boss fight at the end of Kingdom Hearts 1 where you face off against Sephiroth. Dude, if you don't know how Sephiroth pulls up in Kingdom Hearts 1, you know what? I'm just gonna show you. Imagine I'm like 10 years old, I click on this optional boss fight, I'm already shivering and intimidated, and then this dude pulls up. Straight chills. That One-Winged Angel theme is still just... That was my first impression on both of these characters. I immediately thought they were super cool, and I didn't even know they were connected at the time. Eventually, talking with my fellow Kingdom Hearts enjoying friends at school, I learned about Square Enix, Final Fantasy, and how a lot of the characters from Kingdom Hearts are actually from the Final Fantasy series. So when my cousin who lived down the street from us got her hands on Final Fantasy X-2, I was super excited for more Square action. And like I mentioned before, it's not often I got new games to play, so this was very exciting for me. So after school, she came over, we booted it up, and after playing for about 2 hours, I was kind of hating it. See, I didn't know anything about Final Fantasy at the time. I did not know that turn-based combat was the norm and that that's what I should have been expecting. I had only played Kingdom Hearts, so I was thinking that I was gonna get to walk around and smack people with the key just like I did all the time. There's that, and then if you also consider that we had not played Final Fantasy X, so we had no idea what was going on. But because of that terrible experience I had back then, I kind of just wrote off the entire Final Fantasy series and thought they were all pretty boring because of the turn-based combat system. For those of you who don't know, in Kingdom Hearts, Cloud and Sephiroth are not the only two to make an appearance. We also got to meet Tifa, Aerith, Yuffie, and Sid Highwind. It's finally time for me to learn about all these characters that I know but I don't know about. You're introduced to this world riding in on a train in a city called Midgar. Midgar is this Blade Runner-esque, future dystopian, sort of industrialized mega corporation town. Everything is built around a reactor that is harvesting Mako from the Earth's core. And it's like... not a nice place. It's this like future Gotham City place. I don't know, not a place I'd want to live my life. So we hop off the train and we are scrapping straight away. I don't even know what's going on yet, but we're fighting everybody that we see. So you play as Cloud and you're like a badass who used to work as a super soldier for the mega corporation Shinra. But you recently rebelled and now you're on a mission to blow up a reactor to disrupt Shinra's Mako production. See, Mako is like pure energy in this universe. And because of that, the inhabitants of the planet are secondary to the priorities of Mako production. And as a result, you and your squad are going to blow up a reactor so you can stick it to those corporate assholes. And you succeed. But during the aftermath of the explosion, you kind of get separated from your gang and fall down to the slums of Midgar. So after you wake up from the aftermath, you meet this very nice lady named Aerith. Aerith. This is another great example of how charming this game can be. The art design here is so pleasant. With having spent the first 2 hours in this industrial environment, coming in here with the bright yellow and greens on the ground with the flowers and having the sun rays beam through the windows just creates this nice contrasting warmth and hopeful positivity that the game has lying ahead for you. The music accompanies this vibe perfectly, and immediately this gets interrupted because Shinra shows up and you have to start running from some goons up in the rafters. But thankfully, I found a barrel and was able to... That didn't... I missed. Dude, she's so serious. I'm sorry, I was trying something. So we beat up some dudes, escape in a hole in the roof, and then you can start to see where sometimes the art style in this game is unintentionally hilarious. I mean, if that's a full-scale church, dude, we are literally giants. We go and have a nice slumber party at Aerith's house, play a quick game of dress up, and then meet up with the entire Rebel squad again. See, the Rebel group we're actually in is called Avalanche. Rumor around town is that the Shinra leadership have gotten word that Avalanche was responsible for the nuclear reactor exploding. And Avalanche is actually based in the undercity of Sector 7. See, Midgar is built sort of vertically, and there are like plates and shit. Anyways, so the Shinra execs are just like, fuck it, if they're in the Undercity, we'll just drop the Sector 7 plate down onto the Sector 7 Undercity and just take out Avalanche, and then we don't have to worry about it anymore. Even though that's like 100% gonna kill a lot of people that are not involved in Avalanche. Anyways, so the bastards do it, and in the process, they kidnap Aerith and take her up to Shinra HQ. And Cloud and his buddies are all like, hell nah, and immediately chase after them and go right up to the top of the tower. We save Aerith, and we meet up with the homie Red 13 in the process. I absolutely love Red 13. For one, he's a new character that I didn't actually know anything about, and I think I kind of have a positive bias towards them. And on top of that, he makes me think of my dog Daisy, who I love with my entire heart. And before you try to tell me the Red 13's a lion, I looked it up on Final Fantasy Wiki, and they said it's a lion-like or wolf-like creature, so I'm taking the wolf-like label. Immediately, I made Red 13 a permanent member of my squad. Tifa became my healer, and Red 13 became some extra muscle. I know what you're thinking. Speaking of other characters that I didn't know anything about, I fuck with Barrett heavy, and I was super sad to have to bench him. After clearing the Shinra HQ, we find the president of Shinra murdered by what was clearly Sephiroth's sword. Cloud remembers it from his time back working with Shinra as a super soldier. Apparently, Sephiroth was like the LeBron of soldiers. Dude, this guy was a badass. To quell any further suspicions, we interrogated this other guy, and he was like, oh yeah, it was definitely Sephiroth, man. I seen him do it. He said he was gonna do it to save the Promised Land. Then Cloud beats up Rufus, who is the son of the previous Shinra president, so now Rufus is the president. So we beat him up, and we hear that dope-ass victory battle music. I haven't talked about that yet, but I absolutely adore the battle victory music. Afterwards, you meet back up outside of Midgar and finally gain access to the world map. I've come to learn actually that in the new trilogy that Square is making, this is where the first game ends, right at this point where the first Midgar arc sort of concludes. I find that pretty interesting because at this point in the game, we're only like 5 hours into the playthrough or something like that. Like, it's not a big stretch of the game at all. Getting the world map is awesome because it allows you to save anywhere. If you're in the world map, you can just hit save instead of waiting to find one of those rare save points. On top of that, seeing the world map can immediately put into perspective the scale of this game and show you all the different areas that you're excited to explore. First town that we head to is a town called Calm, which immediately gave me vibes of Traverse Town, which is one of my favorite locations in the Kingdom Hearts series. You can really feel where some of the charm of this game comes in a town like this. It's super quaint and peaceful, and it just feels like a nice place. After regrouping with the squad, Cloud shares with the gang what he remembers about Sephiroth from before. And after asking around town for any extra information, they chase a lead that takes them to a chocobo farm? For those of you who don't know, chocobos make a regular appearance in the Final Fantasy series and are basically like the horses of this universe. But they're like giant birds. Anyway, it's convenient we end up at a chocobo farm because we're gonna need a chocobo to get to the next area that we need to get to. We learned that we have to travel across a marsh, and you can't just do that on foot. You need to ride the chocobo to clear across the marsh area and progress the story. But that ain't no problem. I've got some money saved up. I'll just buy one from the chocobo farmer. Oh, he ain't have any left. They're all spoken for. So I'm gonna have to go catch one. Okay, here's the thing. I've been loving my playthrough of this game so far, right? But this whole chocobo nonsense started to really piss me off. First thing you gotta do is trigger a random encounter by running over these footsteps and hoping you find one of the giant birds. Then you gotta throw him some greens, keep him distracted while you beat up all the other enemies, and if you're lucky and he hasn't skedaddled off, then you get to ride the chocobo. But only one time. It's not like you permanently tamed him or anything like that. So if you're like me and you got the chocobo and you ran into the marsh and you accidentally ran into the giant snake, yeah, there's like a big ass serpent in the water, and if it finds you, it'll basically one-shot your entire team. And then you get the pleasure of finding a reset screen, going back and trying to find another chocobo that'll let you ride it long enough to get across the f***ing marsh. I like chocobos. I like the design of the farm. It's very nice and peaceful and colorful. I really enjoy that. But having to chase down all these big ass ostriches all the time is really annoying. After finally getting around that ridiculous scenario, you find that the story mandates you cross the ocean and go to the next continent because, well, we gotta use the entire map, right? So how will we do that? By sneaking onto a Shinra freighter, of course. It'll be easy, it'll be fine. So we head over to a nearby fishing town that's right next to a major Shinra port in hopes to sneak on to one of their freighters. Only after we first go give this woman mouth-to-mouth resuscitation? I mean, it's great we're saving lives, but like, why didn't they just make this a cutscene? Like, why do you have to like physically hit the button to like breathe in?
I don't understand. Why are you doing this, bro?
And then you steal a uniform and you have to like play it cool with Shinra by like trying to improve their TV ratings. And then you have to do a bunch of silly tricks for Rufus so you can impress him. I didn't really like this part. I don't know what's going on. This part of the game was kind of tough for me, I'm not gonna lie to you, because you went from doing the annoying chocobo thing to doing the boring Shinra freighter thing to then the chase led you up to the golden saucer. I get the impression that the golden saucer only exists because they were trying to flex some of the PS1's hardware capabilities. I could be wrong about that, but this just felt very out of place. It's like a big sky casino, and I kind of feel like they were just kind of trying to show off that they could do it in the first place. The golden saucer was very easily my least favorite place in the game. And then we meet Cait Sith. This is a new character that joins the party. This is another character that I didn't know anything about. And let me tell you, from the jump, I just did not like Cait Sith. I just found them very annoying.
Dude, if you do that again, I'm gonna punch you. I'm not kidding.
You ever meet a new video game character and you just wanna like...
Dude, I warned you. I said I was gonna do that if you did that again.
That was me with Cait Sith. I did not enjoy them. After the Golden Saucer, we head to Cloud and Tifa's hometown called Nibelheim. You actually interact with Sephiroth face to face here before he says some cryptic villain shit and then floats off and telling you basically like, hey, I'm going up north, chase me if you want. I've only learned after the fact doing some extra research for this video that this is apparently the opportunity to add Vincent Valentine to the party. Vincent Valentine is apparently a fan favorite character. They made an entire spin-off game about him. I did not know this. I didn't know anything, okay? I was being serious when I said I've never played this before and I have no idea what's going on. So after missing out on one of the coolest characters in the entire game, we head to Rocket Town and we meet Sid. After some convincing and a close call with Shinra, we convince Sid to let us take his plane on our adventure with, it's a boat now? We crashed into the water and now it's a boat. So, hey, at least we don't have to do this boring shit again. We use our boat to cross the ocean and we meet with an arms dealer who tells us about the ancient temple and the black materia inside. A special materia. See, materia is like Mako that's been formed into these little orbs that you can use with your characters to like perform cure spells and do other magic like offensively and summon big ass dudes. But there is a special kind of materia called the Keystone, and if you had the Keystone, you could access the ancient temple to get an even more special type of materia called black materia. And Sephiroth wants to use the black materia to get to the promised land. The first special materia that we need, the Keystone, is back in my favorite place in the world, the Golden Saucer. And Cait Sith's back. Great. So we do a bunch of weird shit to like make this buff oiled up guy happy, and he gives us the Keystone, and then Cait Sith takes it from us and gives it to Shinra? I knew there was something off about that bitch. I did not like them straight out the gate. Then we find out that not only has Cait Sith been a spy for Shinra the entire time, they have Aerith's mom and Barrett's adopted daughter hostage. So even if we decided to beat the shit out of Cait Sith right now for being a punk ass bitch, we would be endangering the lives of loved ones. And on top of all of that, I have to learn all this information while I'm on the golden fucking saucer. I'm having so much fun right now, dude. So we go to the ancient temple to see if we can stop this all from unfolding, and we run into Sephiroth, where he reveals that he plans to use the black materia to summon a meteor that's gonna punch a hole in the Earth's crust. If he punched a hole in the side of the planet, Sephiroth would be able to absorb all that precious lifestream Mako stuff out from the middle. A long time ago, an extraterrestrial came crashing into the planet's surface, and Shinra, of course, got the body and started doing experiments with it. They named the extraterrestrial Genova. See, Sephiroth was created a long time ago as a science experiment from Hojo, who's like the lead crazy scientist for Shinra. Hojo took some of the cells from Genova and stuck them into baby Sephiroth, which turned Sephiroth into this like super powerful badass who can absorb a shit ton of Mako energy. So basically, if he succeeds, summons the meteor makes impact, Sephiroth can absorb all of the life force from the inside of the planet and become a universal power. It's about this point we realize that this is the promised land he was referring to, and he was never talking about like a nice paradise like Costa del Sol or something. Obviously, if he's able to succeed, this will essentially be a cataclysmic world-ending event for everybody who is not Sephiroth. But it's alright, we're able to get our hands on the black materia so we can keep it safe as long as Sephiroth took over Cloud's mind and had him hand over the black materia. Someone should really stop him. He's gonna like cause problems. I also haven't mentioned that we learned that Aerith is more than just a nice flower girl. See, Aerith is the last of one of the descendants of the Ancients, or the Cetra. Now, the Ancients were supposedly able to communicate with the planet's life force, and they have like a sort of religion surrounding it. Since Aerith knows that Sephiroth is going to summon a meteor, she feels an obligation to go communicate that with the planet, so she heads down to the Forgotten City to send thoughts and prayers out into the void. The rest of the squad decides to follow her there to show their support, and upon arrival, Sephiroth shows up and then fucking kills her? Okay, I've learned now that this is like a very famous part of this game. Anybody who is like not been living under a rock or been actively ignoring this game is probably aware that this was going to happen, but somehow I was not aware. This shit fucked me up. I didn't have like an insane emotional attachment, but it really caught me off guard. I did not expect this to happen. It really catches you off guard because Aerith is not a character that's like beefing with anybody or looking for trouble. She's presented almost exclusively as an innocent character that only wants good things for people. She's literally here right now because she's praying for the well-being of the planet. The original Final Fantasy VII was released on 3 discs, and this is actually where the first gameplay disc comes to an end. It ends on a heartbreaking and emotional note where you have to acknowledge that not everybody in this story is going to be safe, and we're dealing with very serious and real consequences in this universe. People die. Nobody is safe. The pursuit of power and universal agency from Sephiroth is cruel, selfish, and unconcerned with the lives of the innocent. And the game has you dwell on that with this extremely emotional cutscene. And then it immediately has you go snowboarding? Like, what the fuck? There are moments in this game where you can tell Square just could not help themselves. The vast majority of this game's gameplay is controlling 3D models on 2D pre-rendered backgrounds. But you can tell that with the PS1's hardware that they could pull off something like this, and they just had to find any excuse in the world to make it happen. Ooh, what if we had Cloud ride a motorcycle, or do a chocobo race, or go snowboarding? You could tell that when this game was released, this type of gameplay was novel and rare, so they wanted to find any excuse to throw it in to this banger of a game. And I'm cool with that, truly I am, but I just think like maybe not after like one of the main squad members gets killed. See, in this game, you can choose your party like I mentioned before. I ran around with Tifa and Red 13, but I could have just as easily been running around with Aerith and Red 13, and I'm super glad that I didn't, because if I had invested all that time into leveling her up just for her to be killed like this anyways, I would have been so pissed off. Sephiroth ends up succeeding in summoning the meteor, and a whole bunch of crazy shit happens. And on top of that, the planet can tell that the meteor has been summoned, and the planet summons like multiple kaiju monsters in self-defense because it can do that, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. This game has a lot going on. These kaiju monsters are called Weapon. They did not go crazy with the names in this game. So the kaiju monsters are summoned to stop Sephiroth, but Sephiroth has himself like holed up in this crater up north, so the kaiju monsters can't actually get to him. So instead of going after Sephiroth, they just go after civilization, any big civilization they can find, like that big port city and Midgar. The squad finds out that Aerith wasn't just sending thoughts and prayers into the void. She was actually trying to summon some materia called Holy. Holy is essentially the opposite of black materia, and it would basically blanket the entire planet in a protective shield that would stop the impact of the meteor. And so that's why Sephiroth killed her, not just because he's a punk. I mean, he is a punk, but there was actually a good reason for it from his perspective. But of course, She died, so we can't count on Holy to protect everybody from the... Oh, she did actually succeed. She summoned Holy. But Sephiroth is at the source of Holy, actively suppressing it and keeping it from emerging and protecting the planet from the meteor. So finally, the situation becomes clear. There's a meteor barreling towards Earth. Sephiroth is actively suppressing the shield that would stop it. If we kill Sephiroth before the meteor gets here, then everybody will survive. If we fail, everybody will die, except Sephiroth. Okay, good? Got it? Oh yeah, don't forget there's giant kaiju monsters already attacking everybody as we speak. After Shinra shoots the kaiju monster with his big-ass Mako cannon, you and your party wait patiently for it to make its way to shore so you can kick its ass and then head up north to try to stop Sephiroth. I love how this game has built up to this end scenario. It feels important. It feels like we've been working up to this the entire time. I know you're probably thinking like, well, yeah, of course we have, but let me give you an example of what I mean. See, take the Raimi Spider-Man trilogy, for example. Peter and the antagonist always have a personal connection, which allows for the tension to build naturally throughout the story.
Why, Peter, you're bleeding. Oh, yeah.
There are several interactions throughout the story that allows the tension to grow organically, both in and out of the suit. Now, let's look at a forgettable Marvel entry. Yeah, the story mandates that the protagonist and the antagonist have to fight. It's just a means to an end. They want a big battle, but there's no real stakes behind it. There's no personal connection between the characters. The good guys just need a bad guy to fight, you know? But this game, nah, this felt important. They do have a very deep personal connection. See, we find out that a long time ago when Cloud was still fighting for Shinra, he was gravely injured, and Hojo, that crazy scientist, did some experiments on his gravely injured body. He injected Cloud with some cells from Sephiroth because he wanted to create a Sephiroth clone because Sephiroth was such a badass that, hey, two's better than one, right? But that is why Sephiroth had the ability to take over Cloud's mind back at the ancient temple and have him hand over the black material with no resistance. And that is one of those good connections that I'm talking about. That's the good stuff. After working through the ending area, fighting off all those tough random spawn enemies, I was teeming with anticipation for the final boss fight. I've only known Sephiroth my entire life as an optional boss in the Kingdom Hearts series, but now I've finally got the full context of what he's been up to and how much of a bastard he is. And I am ready to throw down. I entered this fight with my party leveled over 60. I wasn't sure if that was going to be enough to beat him, but I started throwing everything I had at him, summons after summons, and you can tell that in this game they really went hard on the summons because some of the animations and effects that they used for these guys were really, really cool. If I had to say one of them was my favorite, it was definitely Hades. He had this sort of otherworldly presence, and the sound design they use when he's mixing that cauldron sounds truly evil. But after pummeling this guy over and over with all the materia that I had, something just kind of fell off. This fight was supposed to feel bigger. Like, why did it just feel kind of normal? It's supposed to be like the final showdown. Why did Kingdom Hearts, a game that presented this character without any context, feel like a bigger deal when it was finally time to fight? Ah, wait, there it is! One-winged angel, that's what I'm talking about! See, I found out that I was only actually fighting Bizarro Sephiroth in the first place. Now it's time to crank it up. We're fighting Safer Sephiroth? Is that what they're calling him? Whatever, man, at least he's got the cool music. I thankfully beat this on only my second try because as cool as this boss fight is with all the music and the epic feeling, it's really not that fun. You basically have a ton of time to just throw as many haymakers as you can and wait for him to ultimately use this whole like solar system attack, which takes like legitimately an entire minute to get off, and he's just like blowing up planet after planet after planet, and then it just kind of one-hits your entire party. There's really nothing fun about that from a gaming experience. After my second attempt though, it came to an end. Final Fantasy VII. I have finally played it. Did I win? Did I win? Did I win? It feels like I won. Wait, I mean, it's not gonna not gonna come back and he's gonna hit me one time and kill all three of us, right? I think I did it. Oh, I gotta fight him one more time? Okay, alright, hang on. We got something for him. Yeah! Alright, this is the one. Let's go! We did it! Completed the game! Okay, now we did it. Holy was released and it protects the entire planet from the meteor, And now I have finally completed Final Fantasy VII. I wish I could go back to the moment of playing Final Fantasy X-2 for the first time with my cousin and give that game a more fair shot. I wish I could go back and play this game as a kid, but instead I got this entirely unique experience of playing this game as an adult. And while I didn't get to enjoy this with everybody else back in the day, I can finally say that I feel like a true fan of Final Fantasy VII. When I first started this playthrough, my attitude was very like, let's just get through it and have beaten it one time so we can tell everybody that we've played it. But by the time I had made it to the end game and it was time for this game to come to a close, I was not ready for it to be finished. I was actually having a ton of fun. I really enjoyed the turn-based combat. I really enjoyed the charming graphics. Experimenting with different materia, summons, and limits made the combat really fresh and exciting, and there's something about it that just is fun. I really can't explain it. The level design was super cool and creative for what they had available at the time. The environments felt varied and fresh. Even though you're in shady Midgar for the first stretch of the game, there are a ton of different environments with unique identities, including the golden fucking saucer. It could definitely get confusing sometimes figuring out what parts of the 2D environment the game wanted you to interact with, but that's to be expected with this sort of graphic style. Overall, I had an amazing time playing through this game for the first time, and now I get to be extremely pretentious about the Remake trilogy when I finally play through that. Like, how is the first 5 hours of this game an entire new game dedicated to itself? See, me being pretentious is already starting. Okay, if you've made it this far, I really appreciate it. I've never made a video like this before, so this was a new experience for me. If you enjoyed it and would like to see more like it, please let me know in the comments down below and consider subscribing to the channel. It would mean a whole lot. Because of this experience and finally playing a Final Fantasy game, I'm pretty interested in checking out some of the other entries in the series. And I'm definitely going to be checking out the Final Fantasy VII Remake trilogy. That's it for now. I am no longer a fake fan. I am officially a real fan of Final Fantasy VII. 28 years later.